Joining us now is our political analyst, Brian Sobel. President Trump is being criticized heavily by many people for the tough talk, but what's wrong with that?
Well, nothing in particular other than if it helps to ratchet up the situation and force North Korea to do something that may be precipitous, that would be the problem. But I think what we're seeing is a good cop, bad cop routine. I think the president is being very harsh, giving the North Korean regime tough words, just as they've been giving us tough words. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, I think the Secretary of State and other people are working very hard on a diplomatic solution here.
Yeah, the president has mentioned, in fact, yesterday, that it's about time, he said, that someone stand up for the country and stand up against North Korea and the rogue regime. But you mentioned the risk associated with doing so. And at what point does the president's dares, if you will, or the president's threats, he says they're statements, but at what point does North Korea cross that red line?
The minute there's a miscalculation. The minute that the UN regime decides that they are really under the gun and something imminent may happen, they may take the first shot. And if they do, then all bets are off. I don't think that's where we end up here.
We saw what happened when President Obama essentially drew a line in the sand in Syria.
Right.
It seems like President Trump is doing that same thing here. We saw what happened with President Obama. The same thing could happen here with President Trump?
Well, and it's likely, Frank. It's a great question because it's true. If you say something that's very determinate and then you allow something to happen like what happened with President Obama in Syria, the so-called red line, then the world decides, okay, well, it's just words. We're going to step over that line. And that's kind of what's happening here with the president and his comments.
We talked earlier about the credibility of Kim Jong-un and his threats. The fact that President Trump is responding to those threats from North Korea, does it provide credibility to the regime? And what are the consequences of that?
Well, you're legitimizing a country that economically is not nearly equal, not militarily, except for the nukes, is not equal, and in the world, on the world stage, is not equal. So you make a good point. I mean, if you have that kind of rhetoric with somebody who's very small in terms of the bigger picture, are you giving them credibility? And the answer is yes. But the difference is when you have a country that has access to nuclear weapons, that puts you in a different arena.
What do you think Kim Jong-un wants?
I think he wants to be a legitimate power in the world. I think he wants his regime to be stabilized and to go on. I mean, we're talking about a grandfather, a father, and now a son running Korea's country and with a complete dictatorship. And I think he fears more than anything else what Saddam Hussein feared, what Muammar Gaddafi feared, and that is being toppled either from the inside or from the outside. And they'll do anything to avoid that.
All right, Brian Sobel. Thanks so much.
Yep.